Hi guys, my name is Matikela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want us to talk about what happened in court yesterday. When it comes to generally Shebane, most people yesterday were disappointed, angry, hurt, especially the defense people. And now we had the state people celebrating, which for me was like, guys, come back on earth. Come back on earth. One thing that is not going to change, the case of the state is non-existent. That is not going to change. No matter what Lishebane says, it's his opinions. Now I want you to come forefront, guys, the defense people. Stop listening too much to what those comments say when it comes to the state people. So let's talk about Lishebane is one of those people that are raw witnesses. He's a raw witness. He doesn't look like someone who was sitting with the defense and then listened to them, what this is how we are going to do things. He was sitting with them as like, you are my sons, Lena. he was sitting with Ramza and be like, you are my son. I know what I'm gonna go there and say. Yes, I hear what you are saying. Yes, of course. But he knew what he was going to go there and say. Now, Senzo Meyiwa trial exposed something extremely dangerous inside that courtroom. Not dangerous for the defense, dangerous for the state itself. Because what looked like a breakthrough witness may actually become one of the biggest problems the prosecution has ever faced. And the scary part, many people watching the trial did not even notice it happening in real time. At first, the atmosphere inside the court looked simple. The state appeared relaxed. Advocate Baloyi looked comfortable. The witness was speaking freely. The courtroom energy suddenly shifted away from pressure that had been building around the investigation. But then something happened that completely changed the meaning of this testimony. The witness stopped sounding like a neutral witness. He started sounding like a man fighting for his own survival. And that changes everything, because once a witness becomes emotionally invested in protecting himself, protecting his reputation, protecting his pension, and protecting his freedom, the court must ask very uncomfortable question: is this still evidence, or this is now self-preservation? That is the real war now unfolding in the Senzo Meyiwa trial. So let's break down what really happened. This witness did not come to court the way normal state witnesses or defense witnesses usually come. This was not a polished witness, carefully guided through a controlled prosecution strategy or defense strategy. This was not a witness arrived to calmly assist the court. No, this was what lawyers sometimes fear the most, a raw witness. But the defense got what they wanted from Ulishebane. Ulishebane confirmed that Uzungu lied. What is Judge Rata going to do about that? Because the obvious thing is that Zungu is a liar. He came to court and committed a crime of perjury. That one is very important. Now, a witness cannot be fully controlled. A witness who reacts emotionally, a witness who starts answering beyond the question, and most importantly, a witness who believes his own future may depend on what happens inside that courtroom. Now, suddenly, everything starts making sense, because during testimony, the general repeatedly returned to one thing over and over again: his name, his reputation, his implication, his fear. He made it clear that he became deeply concerned after hearing that his name was being mentioned repeatedly in court. According to him, even his daughter alerted him that his name was constantly coming up during proceedings. That detail matters more than people realize. Why? Because psychologically, that means this witness did not enter court as a detached observer. He entered court already emotionally activated, already defensive, already aware that if the trial turns against certain investigators, he himself could eventually become vulnerable. And once fear enters the witness box, testimony becomes dangerous. Not necessarily false, dangerous, because fear changes behavior. Fear makes people over-explain. Fear makes people defensive. Fear makes witnesses start trying to prove their innocence instead of simply answering questions. And that is exactly where the courtroom atmosphere started to change. Now, here comes the part that should seriously worry everybody, the prosecution included. At one point, the general essentially moved away from facts and drifted into conclusions, not just conclusions about himself, conclusions about the entire case. And this is where the legal arms should immediately start ringing, because instead of stopping at factual testimony, the witness began leaning toward the idea that if certain people lied about him, then perhaps the investigators, including Brigadier Bongani Gininder, must have arrested correct people after all. That sounds powerful emotionally, but legally, that is explosive, because witnesses are not supposed to decide guilty. Witnesses are not supposed to validate the entire investigation. Witnesses are not supposed to tell the court, I now believe the accused are properly guilty. This is not evidence. This is opinion. And in criminal law, opinion can become poison very quickly. Now, here's the strange part. Earlier in proceedings, there were moments where the testimony damaging to the state appeared to be tightly controlled. Certain discussions allegedly became uncomfortable. Certain directions appeared blocked. Certain topics suddenly became sensitive. But now, the witness was suddenly allowed to speak freely when his conclusions appeared favorable to the prosecution narrative. And people watching immediately noticed it. Why is one emotional conclusion shut down, but another emotional conclusion is allowed to breathe inside the court? That question is now hanging heavily over the proceedings. But the real danger for the state is much deeper than that, because the defense does not actually need this witness to collapse completely. They only need one thing: to prove that his emotions are influencing his conclusions. That's it. And once they achieve that, every strong statement he makes suddenly becomes weaker, because courts do not convict people based on emotional frustration. Courts convict based on evidence, reliable evidence, corroborated evidence, tested evidence, not courtroom emotion, not anger, not personal hurt, not outrage. And certainly not a witness trying to save himself from implication or from future implication. This is why observers are now saying the state may be celebrating far too early. Do you understand? Because emotionally, the witness sounded powerful, but legally, he may have opened doors the defense can attack for weeks. The moment a witness appears emotionally invested in the outcome, the defense gains room to argue. This witness is no longer objective. This witness is protecting himself. This witness fears implication. This witness is shaping his testimony around survival. And once that argument enters the courtroom, things become very dangerous for the prosecution, especially in a case already drowning in allegations of contradictions, investigative irregularities, missing records, disputed confessions, and procedural battles. And now let's talk about the strategy war nobody is discussing properly. Right now, the state appears focused on winning immediate emotional momentum, short-term impact, courtroom optics, emotional impressions. That is why moments like this become attractive. But the defense appears focused on something completely different: long-term structural doubt. And those are two very different wars. The state wants the public to feel these investigators must have arrested the correct people. The defense wants the court to ask, can this entire process still be trusted beyond reasonable doubt? And those are not the same thing, because in law, emotional momentum can disappear overnight, but reasonable doubt survives all the way to judgment. And that brings us to the biggest hidden truth in this entire courtroom battle. This witness may not belong fully to either side anymore, not the state, not the defense. He belongs to himself. And he already said the first day, he's not here for the defense. He's not here for the state. He's here for justice for Senzo Meyiwa and his family. Now, he is fighting for his own survival, his own name, his own future, his own passion. And witnesses fighting for survival are often the most unpredictable witnesses in any courtroom. Because tomorrow, under pressure, they can say something completely different. Tomorrow, emotions can shift. Tomorrow, frustration can explode. Tomorrow, self-protection can create new contradictions. And that is why this moment should not make the prosecution comfortable. It should make them nervous, very nervous, because sometimes the most dangerous witness in a criminal trial is not the hostile witness. It's the emotional witness who thinks he is helping. So today, the Senzo Meyiwa trial revealed a brutal truth. This case is no longer just about the 5 accused men sitting in the dock. It is now also about investigators protecting themselves, lawyers protective narrative, and witnesses trying to survive the very system they once served. And if the witness continues speaking emotionally instead of carefully, the same testimony that looked like victory for the state today could become a legal disaster tomorrow. Because in a murder trial, emotions can dominate headlines for one day, but only evidence survives judgment. So, when it comes to what happened in court today, when you are stressing about it, remember that. Thank you so much. I will see you on our next video. Bye-bye.